Hello, my friends. It's day 68, and we're reading Numbers chapter 33 through Numbers chapter 34. And before we get into today's recap, I want to thank you for taking an opportunity to check out this video, and hopefully you're enjoying the yearly Bible reading program. And I pray that you are enjoying this time of just growing in God's Word, and that hopefully you are finding the conversation joyful and beneficial to you. If you have not yet accepted the invitation, it is not too late. You can join us by checking out the link in the description box below, and there it will take you directly to the YouVersion Bible app where you can join several readers throughout the country, reading God's Word, studying, and trying their best to see what the Lord will say to us in this time that we're currently living in. And so I would encourage you and invite you to check out that link, and I know you will be blessed as much as we will be blessed by your presence and by your input each and every single day. Now, today we are continuing our read in the book of Numbers. We are finishing up the book of Numbers. We have one more day. Tomorrow we'll actually complete it, and then we'll enter into the book of Deuteronomy. But we have so much more to study concerning the path and the journey that Israel is taking into this promised land. And then we see in chapter 33, because remember, we started the book probably at year two, around year two, 2.5 of them exiting, really year two, exiting the nation of, the Egyptian Empire. Now what we're seeing is that they have spent the last 38 or so years, 37 and a half years, wandering through this place, and now is at the moment where they are preparing to actually enter the promised land. They're about just under a year from entering the promised land, if you will. And so what God is giving them is first a reflection of what they have done over the last 38 or so years. And you see that all really in chapter 33. You see where they have left certain places and gone back and gone through different places. In fact, you see in verse 11, they left the Red Sea. And then you see that they finally got to the point where they were camping near Jordan, which is what they would need to cross in order to get into the promised land, if you will. Now, God gives them a very strong and a very powerful warning as they prepare to enter into the promised land. He tells them in verse 50 of chapter 33, whenever you cross this Jordan River, if you will, give them the following instructions. When you cross the Jordan River, he says, drive out all the people of the land of Canaan. You must drive out all the people living there. And this seems to be very, this is where a lot of times we get very, very uncomfortable about, what many people refer to as the Old Testament God. I mean, really, he's the same God in both the Old and the New Testaments. We get uncomfortable with what he's telling them to do in respect to what we find in the New Testament. But we have to always understand that the time that we're living in and the way in which people demonstrated their affiliation to God and their allegiance to him. And this would not change until obviously Jesus comes. But I want to say here, this was not in place because God, if you will, put it in place. This is all a result of sin. It is a way of living in a sinful world. And we find that God has parameters and ordinances that will allow Israel to distinguish themselves from other people who are living during this time. And so he tells them to destroy all their carved and molten images, demolish all their pagan shrines, take possession of the land and settle in it. He tells them, because I have given you this land to occupy it, you must distribute the land among the clans of a larger portion of land for those who have larger clans, a smaller portion for those who have smaller clans. And the decision of the sacred lot is final as far as, how these lands will be divided, even down to the Levites who will not get any land. But he says in verse 55, if you all fail to drive out the people who live in the land, those who remain will be like splinters in your eyes and thorns in your sides. Interesting text. Whenever God says, you ought to remove these individuals, he says if you don't, they'll be as thorns in your side. He says they will harass you in the land where you live, and I will do to you what I had planned to do to them. Very, very direct and clear warning to the nation of Israel as they prepare to enter into the promised land. And so in chapter 34, we see that the boundaries are set for each tribe. Each leader would know their role and their place over these tribes. and they were to divide the land according to what God had established in chapter 34. And these leaders would operate as identified in chapter 34 as well. So what we're seeing is this is all in or nothing else, right? You got to come on. It's time for us to finally enter into this land. Let's do what we need to do. And the important thing is now a generation has passed away, and we're going to see why this next book, the book of Deuteronomy, is all the more important because of that. So let's keep reading. We have so much more to go. We're going to talk about the towns of the Levites, and then we're going to also talk about the inheritance of property by women, if you will, in chapter 36 as well. So we got a lot more to go. Let's get there. Let us know what you're learning and discovering from the books that we're reading so far. What are some things that are encouraging you? What are some challenges you're experiencing? We want to encourage you as you move along in this journey. But let's keep doing it together, and let's see how the Lord will bless us. Until next time, thank you for watching. Take care. God bless. And remember, live by the word.